fractions, a little review. So we have done a lot of different things with fractions so far, and today we're just going to take a pause and we're going to see if we can remember a lot of the stuff that we've studied so far. So on a piece of paper, you can write just the word review at the top, and then put number 1 and pause until you're ready and you've got that ready to go. All right, so you should have the word review on the top and you should have a number 1. Okay, what I would like you to write is I'd like you to write this fraction divider here and this circle and this circle. So you're going to write out what I have here. And then put an arrow and another arrow, okay? And you can pause the video if you need to, but once you're ready, I want you to see if you can remember the name. What is the name we give to the top number? And what is the mathematical name we give to the bottom number? So there's a mathematical name for the top number and a mathematical name for the bottom number. Pause the video and see if you can remember the names. Okay, the number that goes on the top is called the numerator. Now, if you did not guess that or you put in the wrong answer, I want you to erase it and write in the word numerator. And the number on the bottom is called the denominator. And again, if you did not get that word, and I'm pretty sure that you didn't get your spelling right for some of you, erase it and make sure that you print that word in properly. So numerator on top, denominator on the bottom. Once you've got that all copied in properly, then you can go on to number 2. Okay, number 2. I'd like you to copy out the beginning of this sentence. The numerator, and that's the number on top, counts, and then don't do those lines. That's just space to write in for me. So copy out number 2, the numerator counts. Pause your video, start when you're ready again. Okay, you've got your sentence started. The numerator counts. So what does this number on top count? What is it counting? It's counting what? So I want you to pause the video and see if you can write in an answer for that. Okay, now you might have all kinds of different answers there, but basically the numerator counts just for this one, we'll say the colored items. Okay, the colored items. You could be counting the non-colored items as well. Or in a group, it could be counting, the numerator counts the colored items or the items that are the same. So 3 out of 8 items are apples. The items that are the same. Okay, so pause your video until you have that all copied out. Number 3. And boys and girls, please make sure that you're doing your capitals and your periods, okay? Number 3, the denominator, that's the bottom number, counts. I want you to copy those words out and pause until you have that ready. Okay, on your page, you should have the denominator, brackets, bottom, counts. So what does that number count? So pause your video again and see if you can write in an answer. Okay, you could have 2 different answers here. The denominator counts all the sections. So when we have one thing divided into sections, it counts all the sections, or if we have a group, it counts all the items in the groups. You could have had the word total, like it counts the total number of sections or total number of items. You could have had that as well. So I'd like you to copy out that. Unless you have something very similar, then you can leave it. Okay, and then pause until you're ready. Okay, number 4, two types of fractions. So again, copy those out, put number 1 and number 2, and then just pause the video until you're ready for the next part. Okay, on your paper, you should have written two types of fractions, and you should have a number 1 and a number 2 underneath. Now, we've already talked about this a little bit in the previous questions, but there's two main different types of fractions. And I don't want to see numbers here. We're talking about, we've looked at doing fractions two different ways. So I'm just going to leave it there. Pause the video and see if you can think of the two main different types of fractions. Okay, one type of fraction is where you have one whole item, chocolate bar, pizza, candy, whatever, divided into sections. Okay, so if you had the word sections down there, or if you had one thing that's chopped up into pieces, something like that. The second is when you have a group of items. And those could be all different sorts of things, food, toys, clothing, whatever. Okay, so copy those two out unless you have something very similar. And then when you're ready, you can move on. Number 5. Okay, when we're talking about one whole item with fractions, like a cookie, like a pizza, like a chocolate bar, it must be divided into something parts. There's a word that needs to go in there, a mathematical word. So when we're talking about the parts, what do we have to be careful about when we're chopping that up into parts? So I would like you to copy all of that out and take your best guess at the word that goes in there. Pause the video and then play again when you have your guess and your sentence. Okay, if you had that all copied out, the word that should be in there is equal. Okay, so when we're dividing up a chocolate bar, we don't do some big pieces and some little pieces. All the pieces have to be the same size. Okay, number 6. You guys did a lot of practice with this as well, drawing fractions. So you can copy down number 6, and you don't have to write that out. Just put a number 6 there. And what I would like you to do is I would like you to draw a circle and a square and a rectangle. Okay, so pause the video until you have that ready. All right, so when we're drawing fractions, usually when we're dividing a circle into equal parts, we draw a line right down the middle. We draw another line right down across the middle. We could leave it like that, has 4 equal sections, or we could divide it again into 8 sections. We could actually even divide it again, then we'd have 16 sections and so on and so on. But we're going to leave this one the way it is. So it's got 8, put an 8 on the bottom. And then with your square, I would like you to divide that into 2 equal sections. And your rectangle, I would like you to divide that into 10 equal sections. What you're going to do now is you're going to color in 7/8, 1/2, and 5/10. When you're all done that, you can go on to the next question. Any color you like. All right, number 7, we also talked about comparing fractions. So which one is bigger, which one is smaller? So for number 7, you don't have to write that, but I would like you to have number 7, and I would like you to write that out on your paper. Pause until you're ready. Okay, so you should have 2/6 and 4/6 written out. Now, this is an easier type of fraction to compare. So let's just put a random shape here, and I am going to divide it into 6 sections. Obviously, if we have 2 sections and then we have 4 sections, the 4 sections is going to be bigger than the 2 sections. So when that bottom denominator is the same, it is super, super easy to compare. You just look at the bigger number. I have 4 out of 6. That's bigger than 2 out of 6. All right, take a minute to catch up on that drawing and then copy down the next one, please. Okay, if you have 2/3 written out beside 2/4, all right, this one is different because the pieces are different sizes. So which one is actually bigger? They're not equal because they're not the same thing being divided. So for this one, we need 2 fraction strips. Make sure they are the same size. On this one, we're going to divide it into thirds. This one's going to be the 2/3. This one is going to be the 2/4. So what I'd like you to do is color in both of those, 2 on the first one, 2 on the second one, and then I would like you to write either your greater than or your less than sign in the circle. When you're all done that, you can continue on. All right. Now, I'm not sure why I had, oh yes, this is a mistake. Okay, let's get rid of this guy. What I meant to say was ordering fractions. Okay. Now you use the greater than or less than sign, that's comparing. But when we have a bunch of fractions, we have to put them in order, either from greatest to least or from least to greatest. So again, you don't need to write that part out, but put number 9. And then I would like you to just wait a second. Don't write anything else. So just number 9. And I'm going to pick a bunch of random fractions here. But they are all going to have the same denominator. Okay. So there we go. Let's do one more. Okay, so there's a bunch of fractions. Now, usually I say least to greatest, but this time my instruction is going to be greatest to least. Remember, you haven't written out anything yet, just number 9. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for the biggest fraction. Now, remember I said this makes it super easy. All of these are divided into 12 sections. So we are comparing only the top numbers. So you are going to look for the greatest number. We've got 2, 1, 5, 7, 11, and 0. So that fraction is going to go first, and then you're going to go smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to the smallest or the least fraction. So the greatest should go at the beginning, and the least should go at the end. Okay, pause your video until you have them written out in order greatest to least. All right, and we're going to do one more part of this number 9, and that is ordering fractions again, but this time I'm going to do it the hard way. So don't write anything down yet. I am going to write 5/8. You're just watching right now. And I'm going to put down here, let's see, 4/5 and 2/3. Now, we cannot only look at the top numbers because we are comparing different things. So how big are these sections? How big are these sections? How big are these sections? Okay? The only way to solve this is to draw a picture or to make a picture in your mind. Okay? So if you can, you could make a picture of that in your mind, but you still might have a hard time comparing this one and this one. So the best way to do this is to draw those fraction strips. So now I want you to do this with me. You're drawing 3 fraction strips that are the same length. And I want you to put the fraction beside each one. Okay, if you have finished that, now we're going to divide into sections. So 8 sections for the first one. We start in half, then we do half again, and then we do half again. That will give us 8 sections. 5 is tough. The odd numbers are tough, especially as they get bigger. Somehow you have to try this, and if it doesn't work, you erase it and try it again until you have 5 sections that look kind of similar. So I'm going to give it a shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's my 5th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? 3 is a bit easier. It's just 2 lines. Okay? And you can see that my 4/5 isn't perfect and my 2/3 isn't perfect, but it gives us a good enough idea. So here is what I would like you to do. I want you to pause the video and I want you to color in 5 of those sections, 4 of those sections, and 2 of those sections. Okay, now that you're back, you should have this, this, and this colored. I'm not going to color them in. But now what I want you to do is I want you to take those 3 fractions and I want you to order them least, so we're starting with the smallest, to greatest. And that is what you're going to write down here. Okay? Pause the video until you have that done. Okay, and one of the last things that we were talking about was equal or equivalent fractions, and we were talking about the 1/2. Okay, so write down number 10. You don't have to write that out. Write down number 10, and we're going to put maybe 4 fraction strips here. And beside the first one, we're going to put a half. Okay. And I'd like you to color that in. Now we did this at the end of one of our other videos, but we're going to find another another fraction strip that covers the exact amount of space, but it's going to have a different name. And remember I told you there are an infinity's worth of different names for this fraction. So for this amount that is covered, you could come up with endless possibilities of numbers that will equal the same amount. Okay? So let's try to divide this so there's not just 2 sections. Let's try to divide it so that there's more than 2. Obviously, we can't do 3. And remember I said last time, odd numbers do not work. So you cannot do this with 3 and 5 and 7. We need denominators that are even. So after 2, the next even number would be 4. So I can divide that into 4 sections quite easily. Now, if I want to cover that same amount of space, how many sections have I filled in? 2. And guess what? 2 is half of 4. So that top number is always going to be half of the bottom number. So we could say that 1/2 is equal to 2/4 or 2/4. Okay, I want you to draw the half mark again. But this time I don't want you to divide it into 4. This time I want you to divide it into 6 sections. So you're going to have to add some lines and make sure you have 6 sections in the end. I want you to color in the same amount, just like we did. And I want you to write the number of sections that you colored in. And for the last one, again, in half. This time I want you to divide it into 12 sections. So this is easy to do. If you've already done 6, copy what you did for 6 and then divide each of those sections in half again and you'll get 12. Okay, color in the same amount and then write the number of sections that you colored in. All right, pause the video until you're done all of that. Okay, today you have a pop quiz. 3 questions to do. The first 2 are really super easy. So at the end, write pop quiz number 1. You do not have to write these instructions. No. All you have to do is do it. So it says draw a circle. So that's all you have to do. Number 1, draw a circle. Show 3 quarters. So color that whatever color you like. Number 2, do not write that out. It says draw a rectangle. So that's all you have to do. Draw a rectangle and show 7/8. So color in 7/8. Okay, those 2 are pretty easy. Number 3, again, do not write this out. Okay, put these fractions in order from least to greatest. Draw fraction strips if you need to, and I am going to change that to draw fraction strips. Like you don't have a choice about it, okay? Because you have to. So draw fraction strips, okay? So you're going to have to draw 5 fraction strips, 3/3, 2/6, 1/2, 4/10, and 0/100. You're going to have to color them in. You're going to have to figure out which one is the smallest, and you're going to put them in order from least to greatest, from smallest to biggest. Good luck on your test, everyone.